So one of the projects that we have ongoing in the department, the Bass Street Community Archaeology Project. Actually, if you look behind me, you can see we're at Fort Negley. This was a Civil War era fort built here in Nashville. Now, I'm just going to do a little bit of historical background. So Tennessee was part of the Confederacy, but, at midway point in the Civil War, Nashville became Union occupied. So Nashville being Union occupied, different enslaved peoples from all around the area came and escaped here into Nashville looking for safety with the Union Army that was here. They passed the Confiscation Act, meaning that the Union could confiscate any property of the Confederacy. And since slaves or enslaved peoples were considered property, they could be confiscated by the Union Army. So the Union Army took these escaped enslaved persons who they considered property, but since they were property who had been confiscated, they were considered contraband. So the Union basically forced these escaped enslaved people, basically conscripted them into constructing this and other forts around the area. Now, the Union Army did provide them with a little bit. I think they gave them a little bit of money and a little bit of supplies, but they didn't really give them a place to sleep or a place to live. These escaped enslaved persons, or formerly enslaved people, basically formed camps. They formed communities all around on the hillside here. But this whole hillside right here was what they called a contraband camp. This contraband camp, the people who lived here stayed here. And it became a neighborhood. It became a community. In fact, this area where we're standing right here was the site of one of the first free black communities in all of Nashville. Now, right in front of me over there, that's Bass Street. So that's why we call this the Bass Street Community Archaeology Project. So what we're trying to do here is really uncover the history of this really extremely important part of Nashville history. As we're looking around, you're noticing, well, there's really nothing here. That's because sometime in the 1940s, this neighborhood was eliminated. Part of the WPA, the Works Progress Administration, one of the projects that was done during the Depression for the WPA was reconstructing Fort Negley. As part of this archaeology project, we are identifying some house foundations right over there. Was the site of the Bass Street Baptist Church. So this project, working here, this is actually part of a class. Now I teach a class, it's the prefix Anth 3210, and it's just called Archaeology. It's a requirement for a major. For this class, we bring the students out here. We have groups of 2 to 3 students who are working with other archaeology students, or students who have been through an archaeological field school, I should say, who know how to excavate. So they're teaching those students how to, the specifics of how to dig and retrieve artifacts and all the sort of physical aspects of doing archaeology. Take those artifacts. We go back to MTSU. They go back to the lab, and there they clean and sort and identify and process these artifacts. Once they're finished with all of that, they have to write a site report, and they sort of describe the excavations that they've done. They talk about the artifacts, and they come to some kind of rough conclusions about what they found. But one of the things that's kind of really important about this project is this isn't just some sort of little, fun class project. We do that sometimes for elementary school kids, where you get like a sandbox and you bury some stuff in there and say, hey, dig up the stuff, kids, because it's fun. This is, the students in this class are involved in an actual real archaeological project that has really significant historical implications. As I already said, this is the site of one of the first free black communities in all of Nashville, and it has pretty much been forgotten. One of the things that archaeology does, and this is kind of an overused cliche, but it's really true, which is that we give a voice to the voiceless. So because archaeology deals in artifacts, deals with the physical world, deals with the material world, deals with the physical things that people left behind, we're able to understand, help recover, in a way, a lot of the history that has been forgotten. You know, who are the people whose history is not written? Who are the people who are usually forgotten in history? So that's what we're trying to do here, is sort of help people understand a part of this lost and very important part of history of Nashville. Where we're standing right now, and unfortunately the grass on the hillside, all the weeds, has been very overgrown, so you can't really see much. Kind of hoped to be able to show you some of the house foundations around here. What I can kind of show you a little bit right here is, if you kind of look, you can almost see we're in a little bit of a sort of depression right here. And this is the foundation of Bass Street Baptist Church. Where I'm standing, actually kind of right behind me, you can see right here, this would have been the back wall of the church. So we've done a lot of excavations around here to kind of help us understand the nature of this church and how it was constructed and all of that. So the Bass Street community was on this entire hillside that you see behind us. But there was about 10, 12 houses right here. These houses would have been mostly constructed of wood. Now, right over there is what is now the Adventure Science Center. And part of the community was actually underneath that Adventure Science Center. And in fact, this whole area around us was the site of a very extensive African American community here in Nashville that for the most part has been eliminated. This neighborhood right here where we're working was removed probably during the WPA, but other parts of the neighborhood were removed later. So for instance, in front of me over there is the expressway. Removed much of this historic neighborhood. Really, the only part of this very extensive African American community that's left that we could actually do archaeological excavations on is this hillside right here.